Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Welcome back to Talking Real Money. Tom Cock here. Don McDonald getting a well-deserved day off. He basically works 6 or 7 days every single week, going back 40 or 50 years. So we decided he should go see his family, and that's exactly what he's doing today. But I am here to answer your questions about all things financial, any money-related issues you think you have or you're trying to figure out, make a decision on something. You know, it seems like some of the decisions are, I got this money, I want to invest. Should I do this? Or I'm thinking of hiring this person. Should I hire them? Or I've been told to buy XYZ fund. Is that a good idea? We'll try to give you some guidance around all of those areas. And here's the number to do so. 855-935-8255. 855-935-TALK. And by the way, we are not here next week, so get your question answered this week. And I find this fascinating when it comes to your, and you know who I'm talking to right now, your behavior when it comes to money and investing. It turns out if you go back a little over 100 years ago, not very many people invested in the United States. It was like 5%. And there weren't very many things to invest in. Frankly, you could really only invest in about 3 things: canals, railroads, and mines. I mean, are those things you want to rush out and put some of your money? And most people invested those lost their money. They were individual securities or they were railroad bonds. I mean, all these things that ended up blowing up. And so I find it fascinating that today, still the excitement when something new comes along and it is so cool, I got to own part of that. And it turns out the investment du jour is pot stocks. Investing in marijuana companies. And there's really only one right now, although there's more on the way. And it's a company called Tilray. Now, I'm not picking on Tilray because I don't know enough about it. I know it's a Canadian firm. I know that a big part of it's owned by a company here in Seattle. And they're the ones who helped take it public. But here's the thing I do know. This is a stock that the trading range in the last month has gone from $20 a share to $300 a share. Let me say that again. It's gone from $20 to $300 and then backing up and down and sideways. And Friday, I think I have the number right here. That would be yesterday. It closed at 112. So this is an insane amount of volatility. And it reminds me a lot of some other fads that have come along, some other speculations that have come along. I'm not picking on the pot industry. It may be a great place to invest over the long haul. It may not be, by the way. But it reminds me of, let's see, there was a thing called cryptocurrencies like 9 or 10 months ago that, again, were all the rage. And you were calling us every week, and how do I invest in that? And when we told you no, oh, you guys are old-fashioned. You got to get up with the times. This is all about the future. This is how people are going to trade. This is how people are going to use their money. And you got to get with it. And then Bitcoin collapsed. The trading on Bitcoin is, I think it's off by more than 75% from where it was just, I think, 8 or 9 months ago. And then does that also remind you of some other great fad that wasn't that long ago called the internet? Remember, there were all those companies that didn't have earnings, barely had a business, but they were going to be big because this is the internet, man. This is the future. This is high tech. You got to get a part of that. And the NASDAQ shot up. in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s, and then it shot down again. Remember? I mean, it was up and it was down, and so fast the NASDAQ declined by half, I think, in a little over a year. And so why do you want to be in these fads? Why do you want to be in these speculations? Because that is not investing. That purely is speculation. You're hoping, you're praying, you're thinking you see something that others don't see and taking advantage of it. And we actually had somebody call our office last week to ask about investing in Tilray. Am I too late? And I said, if you're calling us, yeah, you're too late. You're way too late. And should you be investing in things that are speculative anyway? Probably with only a very, very, very small part of your portfolio. Not much money. So avoid the fads. Avoid the idea du jour because they're always out there. There's a lot of them. They come along regularly. And the people that invest in those generally are too late. They generally either stay in too long or get out way too early. And they get burned by the people who truly are the professionals when it comes to all of this. There are people, I'm sure, that are professionals that are invested in Tilray at a very low price, maybe as low as the $20, and they're sitting around giggling. I mean, they may have sold off some of these shares at $300. They may be holding on when the stock gets back to $2. I mean, and they're playing you. They really are. And if you think you're ahead of the game here, remember there's people on Wall Street that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars investigating companies and trends and fads and know way more about this than you do. PhDs who know the company, get to go interview the people running the companies. So please don't do that. And please don't assume that because something's in the media, it's been well written about, even making the Seattle Times for that matter, that there's some safety to it, because there is not. There's never really safety in individual stock. There's definitely not safety in a speculation like this is at this point. Give me a call. We'll be glad to talk to you about your situation. 855-935-TALK. We'll continue here with Talking Real Money.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
You know you need investing and financial advice to enjoy a better future, but you have no idea where to get it, right? The one thing you need most, you're probably missing, and that's a plan, because most of the financial services industry is concerned with making the next high commission sale instead of spending the time to understand your needs and fears. If you're looking for a 100% pure fiduciary, and we'll put that in writing, low-cost, fee-only advisor who puts you first, give Vestory a call at 800-386-3004. That's 800-386-3004, or visit us online at Vestory, VESTORY.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Trying to figure out your finances, got money-related questions. We are here every Saturday. Well, not next Saturday because there's Husky football to contend with, but basically every Saturday, talking real money, giving you independent advice, trying to help you make good decisions. And it's easy to do. All you do is call us, 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. And that's exactly what Alan did, who now joins us here on Talking Real Money. Hi, Alan.
Hello, Tom.
How you doing?
I'm a member of you guys. Just fine. You invest my money with Schwab, and what you told me is that what we're in was between 4 and 9%, and I'm only going to draw out 4% per year. Do they reinvest that once a year or bi-monthly or quarterly or whatever, the stuff that I don't, the interest that I don't draw out?
I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding your question. So you're saying if we sell enough to provide you more than the 4%, more than you take out, is that reinvested?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it goes yet. I haven't started drawing out yet.
So, I mean, generally, if you hire us or somebody like us, we look at.
I already got you guys.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you for calling, and thank you for doing that.
I come up on a Saturday about 3 months ago. And
wonderful.
Had a deal with you.
Oh, that's very kind. Mitchell. Thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate that. So the short answer is we're only going to try. Here's our approach. We generally will make a sale every 6 months to create the cash you need for the coming 6 months. In other words, we don't have we don't want a lot of cash sitting around, as little as possible, because that is not making you any money. And it looks like we lost you there, Alan. But the point of the matter is, for you or for anybody else, 6 months of cash. Some people want a year, but you wouldn't want to sell securities more than that, because you're selling out of the market and you're not going to get participation in any gains in stocks or the little bit of interest you get in bonds or that kind of thing. I hope that answers that question. 855-935-TALK, and I'm sorry we lost you, 855-935-8255. And this aspect of withdrawals is always a tough one, because many of you want to build a portfolio and then you want to think about, well, how am I going to get the money? And some people say, I'll take dividends. That can be tricky because dividends are only paid a few times a year. I will wait to we'll get Alan back. Is that what we're doing?
I can.
Okay. Let's try to go back to the phone, because I apologize for losing him. Is this you, Alan, again?
This is Ann.
Ann, okay, my bad. Ann, how are you?
Good, thank you.
How can I help you today?
My money is in Fidelity and Vanguard
Yes.
funds. And beneficiary are my two daughters.
Uh-huh.
Do I still need a will, or do I just need a note for some other things like silverware or little jewelries?
Well, yeah, so that's more of an estate planning question, but I can tell you this. If the money's at any custodian, anywhere it is, you can, on any type of account, with an IRA, you have beneficiaries, right? I mean, so something happens to you as the holder of that account, the custodian will simply say, you made Tom your beneficiary. You didn't, but maybe you change your mind. Kidding. It's going to go directly from your account to the beneficiary. The same thing could be true in a taxable type of account, regular brokerage account. And in other words, you can have what they call a TOD, transfer on death. So it simply goes to the people you want it to, with or without any estate planning. So oftentimes it depends on sort of the size of your estate that you do that, whether you have real estate, because when you have real estate, it makes it even trickier, because there you get some other issues you want to take advantage of. So in a general sense, yes, you can do it without any estate planning. I don't know if I recommend that, depending again on the size of your account.
I see. I don't have real estate, and just little jewelry and silverware. That's what I will have.
And you could even, with that, you could even have a list of those items if you didn't want to go write an estate plan. So thank you for your call. I appreciate it very much. Again, our phone number, 855-935-8255. And now here, one of the guys that we trust around all of these things, around money and around consumer stuff, and he's always looking out for you, and he goes to conferences to learn more, and he speaks to you, and he used to have a great show here on Como, still does some work here, is the ConsumerMan Herb Weisbaum, who's kind enough to call us, even though he's off in other places enjoying the company of his former classmates. Herb, thank you for coming on Talking Real Money.
Oh, that's fine. I've been calling for 10 minutes. Nobody picked up the phone.
Well, that's just the way you're just.
You have to expand your staff, Tom.
I'm working the other direction, Herb, if that's okay.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say. This is fascinating because, you come and speak you're kind enough to come to speak at our retirement events every year. Got another one coming up in February.
I love it.
Well, you're very kind to do that. And I tell you, you are always one of the talks that people are most rapt about. I mean, they got to know what Herb is going to say, because he's always on top of whatever fraud protection or consumer issue comes up. And then you want to go, the first thing you want to talk about today is, I think I have this right, pet insurance? Really?
Well, I want to talk about three things. Pet insurance, I want to talk about free credit freezes, and I want to talk about fake checks. So I'm going to throw the balls up in the air, and you decide which one you want to talk about first.
I got to say, and you know how much I love my dog. I'm an animal lover, but pet insurance? Tell me more.
Absolutely. Well, pet insurance has been around for years, for decades. But what I did is I took a look at this for my recent article on NBCnews.com, because it really has come a long way in the last 15 years. Back 15, 20 years ago, it was a total ripoff in most cases. But the policies have gotten really, really good now, and it's something that pet parents may want to think about having for their animals, because veterinary medicine, is so expensive these days. I start the story out with a personal story that I'll share with you and the Como listeners. I have a wonderful dog, Sam, that we got from Seattle Humane Society. And Sam's a great guy, great health, and all of a sudden he got really sick So we took him to the vet, and it turned out he had a bacterial condition called leptospirosis. And it's a bacterial condition that basically goes right to the kidneys, and in most cases the animal dies unless you're lucky enough, as we did, to have a great vet at the Animal Emergency Services in Kirkland who realized it could be this and put him on antibiotics. He was in the ICU there. He was at the emergency for 5 nights.
Whoa.
The bill came to $10,000 for the 5 days of care for Sam. And we had insurance, pet insurance, because I've always had that for my animals. And the pet insurance sent me a check for $9,000. They paid 90% of the bill within 3 days. You tell me what people insurance does that well. And that was just one thing. I mean, they do heart surgery now. They use blood transfusions. My previous dog to Sam had his own ophthalmologist and had radiokeratotomies done to his eyes because he was a Shih Tzu and had bug eyes. So the expense is enormous. If you're not prepared to cover it, there are sad stories where people literally, the vets are pretty good now about saying, here's what it's going to cost you. This procedure's between $3,000 and $5,000 or whatever. And I've talked to vets, and they've had people who've walked out the door and said, put him to sleep. I can't afford the bill.
Right. Yeah.
And it happens all too often. So what we want to look at is if you feel like pet insurance is for you, what is the best policy? Who should you choose? And a great group called Consumers Checkbook, Puget Sound Consumers Checkbook, they're based with checkbook.org back in Washington, D.C., actually took the time and looked at 9 of the major policies in the country for over the life of a virtual pet or a made-up pet that they made up, Wolf, who was a mixed breed pet. Over the life of the animal, Wolf lived to be 13 years old. And they found out that the 2 best policies in the country were of 2 companies, one called Healthy Paws and the other called Trupanion, which is located right in good old Seattle, Washington. Wow. And the reason is because they do not increase the premium that you pay every year based on the age of the pet, whereas the other guys all do. They keep it stable. It will go up if health costs go up in your area. But my guy, I've had the same premium for at least 3 years now, and that makes a really, really big difference because some of these policies you might start out with $30, $40 a month, and by the time they get a couple of years old, maybe 5, 6, 8 years old, you're talking about $116 a month or more than that.
And we have to take a quick break.
Traffic,
here.
Of course.
Yeah, we got to get to our stuff. We'll be back with more with Herb Weisbaum here on Talking Real Money, and we're going to talk about your credit freeze just as winter arrives. And you can call and ask Herb questions, myself as well, 855-935-TALK. We'll be back with more here on Talking Real Money.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Keeping the podcast breaks as painless as possible is my goal. That's why I want to very quickly tell you about the only magazine I've ever heard of that is 100% real investing all the time. There's no business news, no speculative advice, and certainly no lifestyle stuff. It's called Real Investing Journal. I publish it every quarter, and you can get 2 full years for only $25 at realinvestingjournal.com. That's realinvestingjournal.com.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
Welcome back to Talking Real Money. 855-935-8255 is our number. We'll come back with more Herb Weisbaum. He's got some information about a credit freeze in just a couple minutes. But first, let's go back to the phones. Alan now joins us here on Talking Real Money. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, Tom, I was talking a minute ago about how
yes,
get the money out of Schwab.
Correct, yeah.
And
so
I lost it right when you got
it never fails. Okay, so it goes like this, and this is what I recommend for anybody, by the way. We don't want to sell securities any earlier than we have to. So generally we, and I believe most other money managers, either going to keep about half a year's money of distributions in cash or about a year. And that's something you're going to work out, in your case, with our advisor, but another advisor as well, about how much money you're going to use for the next 6 months. So you wouldn't want to sell out of stocks and bonds much earlier than that because you want to keep things sort of exposed to the markets and then make those sales. As I say, generally we do it every 6 months. You don't want to sell a lot of stuff either because there's a small trading fee involved as well. So does that make sense?
Okay, I didn't know where the money actually come from, whether it come out of the account or how it was reinvested if you didn't use it or whatever.
Well, we wouldn't be selling things we didn't need to. In other words, we'd only sell whatever and I think this should be true of any advisor, you'd only really want to sell whatever things you need to create that cash. So, for example, today we'd be selling the mutual funds that hold U.S. stocks, big and small, because they've gone up the most. That sort of rebalances your account. You set the cash aside, and then Schwab is going to send it to whatever account you've instructed us to do for you.
Okay.
All right?
I think that answers it. It's not.
Right.
I got to meet with Mitchell here so soon anyway, and so he can go over that a little bit more with me. So
thank you very much for doing that and for your call. Appreciate both. 855-935-TALK. We only have about a minute. Can we go back to Herb real quick? We'll try him. We got him on there? No? Okay. We're still working on getting Herb back. Oh, Herb, you there?
I'm here.
All right. Okay. We only
Let me finish the thought.
Please,
and then you can go to news.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Go ahead, Herb Weisbaum.
Okay, so we're talking about pet insurance.
Yes.
So the two that rated the best were Healthy Paws and Trupanion Base in our area. And if you want to read more about this, the pros and cons of pet insurance, and learn more about these and why they rated so well, if you just go to my website, ConsumerMan.com, it's right there on the homepage. Just look for a cute little picture of my dog, Sam, with the big ears, and he's right there on the homepage, and it will tell you everything you need to know about whether you want to get pet insurance or not. But I highly recommend, unless you consider your pet to be a chair, and if it breaks, you're going to throw it away and get a new one, and I sure hope you don't.
Yeah.
It's something you might want to seriously, because you probably can come up with $52 a month, but you may not be able to come up with $8 or $10,000 all in one spot, and that's what insurance is all about.
All right, we'll get you to hang on. We'll talk about credit freezes in just a couple minutes. Also want to mention that coming up on Saturday, October 20th, I'm doing a class about retirement investing and income. All those decisions you need to make as you get closer to retirement, avoiding critical mistakes as well. You can register right now. TalkingRealMoney.com, TalkingRealMoney.com, Saturday, October 20th in Bellevue. Hope to see you there, and we'll be back with more in just a couple minutes.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Just as there are basic laws that govern our physical world called physics with a PH, there are also basic rules and concepts that impact our finances and investments. I call them financial physics with an F. In fact, 8 years ago, I wrote a book about them. For years, I've wanted to create an interactive version of that book to help readers better understand the concepts. So, since it was time for an update, I turned financial physics, with an F, into a special interactive multimedia version only on iBooks. It's the only platform that allows that. Because I want everyone to have access to this information, I decided to give this version away. Yes, it's totally free. So if you have a compatible Apple device, go get your copy of the new interactive book, Financial Physics, on iBooks. It's totally free, and it's available right now in the iBooks store.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Here to help you almost every week when we're not thrown under the bus by Husky football. 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. We'll go back to the phones in just a couple minutes, talk to Rich and to you. But first, let's go back and talk with Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man. You hear his great work here on Como. Still, you can see it on TV. You can go to his website, ConsumerMan.com. I mean, Herb, one of the things people are always asking you about is security. They just want to know their information is not being accessed, especially online. Old guys like me always worried about, hey, some youngster cracking in there. And there's this thing about freezing your credit. I never have quite understood all this. Can you give us a little background and kind of where we are today on all that?
Sure. So about a year ago, just actually a little bit more than a year ago, there was this thing called the Equifax breach. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yes, 148 million files were stolen out of Equifax. Huge breach, puts half of the American public at risk for identity theft. Well, the only thing so far in the year that Congress has done that to protect consumers based on that gigantic breach, everybody was so upset when it happened, was to pass a law that actually allows you to freeze your credit files at the big three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, for free. This is a big deal because up until now, most in our state, unless you were 65 or older or a true victim of identity theft, meaning you'd file a police report, you basically had to pay $10 to freeze your file at each one of the three bureaus, $10 to unfreeze your file if you wanted to apply for credit, get a car loan,
Yep.
Get a mortgage, get a credit card, open a cell phone account, and then pay $10 again at each three to lock them back up again. It was too much for a lot of people, even though the risk of identity theft is so great, so they wouldn't do it. So now it's free for everybody. And a lot of people have heard this term credit freeze and aren't sure what it is, and there are a lot of misunderstandings. So let me just briefly explain. What you're basically doing is you're putting your credit file in a vault, and nobody can get into that vault, including you, unless they have the PIN that was generated at the time the freeze was put into effect. So when you put the freeze in effect, you will get a PIN that you have to use to unlock your credit file or lock it again to get in there, whatever. And if you don't have that, you're going to have to go through a lot of paperwork. But that keeps the bad guys from stealing your personal information, trying to apply for a credit card or a home loan or a car loan or whatever, and then having the potential lender access your credit file to generate a credit score because it's locked up and they can't do it. It's much more powerful than a fraud alert, which a lot of people put on their files to say, please call me if somebody's about to open credit, which doesn't always happen. This just locks it up so nobody can get in. You can, according to the congressional law, in an hour it has to be open if you want to unthaw and apply for credit. So it should be no problem now if you want to do something like that, which is really, really great. And the two misunderstandings, it does not impact your credit score. A lot of people think that it lowers your credit score. It has no impact on your credit score. You can still get your free annual credit report from the credit bureaus every year. And I guess there's three, really. And number three is that it does not affect your current relationships. So it's not going to screw up anything with your credit card company or your lender for your mortgage or anything like that. It just prevents new accounts from being created in your name, which prevents the bad guys from doing it.
And how do people go take advantage of this right now?
It's very easy. You just go to the three credit bureaus and online, sign up for the freeze. They don't make it easy because they're trying to sell you stuff when you go to their websites. So if you go, again, to my website and look for the article on ConsumerMan.com that I did for NBCNews.com, right there in the middle, I have the links right to the credit freeze pages, and you can skip all the marketing stuff and get right to the business at hand and what you want to do. I did it many years ago when I had to pay for it. It is the only proactive step that you can do to protect yourself from identity theft. That's really important. It's the only thing. Credit monitoring, which people pay for and like, will tell you when the horse is out of the barn. A credit freeze keeps the horse from leaving the barn. It's the best thing you can do to protect yourself from new account fraud. I highly suggest everyone do it, and do it right away, because if you were in the Equifax system, your information's been floating around for more than a year now.
All right, Herb, can we get you to hang on just for a couple minutes?
Absolutely.
All right, Herb's going to hang on. We're going to go. When we come back, we'll talk with Rich for a moment. Then we'll talk to Herb about the next scam that's out there, because there's always something new. And as I said, Herb is right on top of this. Fake checks that are taking a lot of money out of people's accounts. Kind of shocking. Your questions and calls, we'll still have time to squeeze in a couple here at the end of the show. 855-935-TALK. That's 855-935-TALK. You want to learn how to do all of this right. Not the security part, but really building a retirement, investing properly, how to use index mutual funds. All of that great information we provided in One Morning in Bellevue, Saturday, October 20th. And the tickets right now are very inexpensive because we still have a few weeks to go. You can buy them at TalkingRealMoney.com, TalkingRealMoney.com. We'll continue in just a moment.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
I just recently created a new and massively improved interactive edition of Financial Physics on iBooks, but I don't want to leave out those without an Apple device, although no other platform offers their interactivity. I have, however, created a free static PDF version of Financial Physics with an F that you can get right now at TalkingRealMoney.com. That's TalkingRealMoney.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Thank you for being part of the program. If you can't get your question in today, you can 24/7 leave us one, and we answer it on our podcast, Talking Real Money Podcast, and that number is 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. We're going to talk with Herb Weisbaum again here in a moment or two, but first, let's go to the phones and talk with Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hi, how you doing?
I am well. How can I help you today?
Well, I'm glad I'm not driving in Seattle today, for sure.
I think we can generally say that most days, Rich. You don't need to wait for today to make that proclamation.
Yeah. I got a Weyerhaeuser pension. They offered me a lump sum early retirement, and or I could go with a annuity, joint survivor annuity. And I have to make this decision by October 15th, and I was just kind of wondering what you think about that.
Well, you absolutely only one thing. You got to sit down with somebody to go through it. I can't give you great. Here, in a general sense, is the case. Remember that if you take the lump sum and something happens to you and your significant other, that money still belongs to your family. If you take the annuity, that is not the case, right? You understand that. That's one thing to consider. But after that, the lump sum, people that take the lump sum and invest it properly and expose some of it to stocks generally end up with more money, pay themselves more than the pension. But oftentimes people say, I don't want the risk of investing it and paying attention to all this, et cetera, et cetera. So it's generally not a black or white kind of question. It's a bit gray. I would highly urge you to sit down with a registered investment advisor and have them look at the situation. I would also advise you to go into the meeting and tell them, I am not here to buy anything. I want advice on this, and it's unlikely I'm going to be a client. I just want help. And here's a way you could do that. You go to talkingrealmoney.com, and there we have a place where you could go look at a few local advisors that we trust that are registered investment advisors. They're going to give you fiduciary type advice. They're not trying to sell you a product, but I'd urge you to do that because for the most part, these tend to be tough equations to sort of deal with on your own. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I'm sorry I can't be more helpful there. Yeah, I wish I could because the reality is it's not an easy question to answer. So there's a few moving parts, and many times it ends up being more of an emotional decision than a financial one. Let's go back to the phones because the consumer man kind enough to join us here on Talking Real Money today via the telephone. We've talked a little bit about pet insurance. That was fascinating. And your credit file freeze, which many of you don't know you can do for free now, which is terrific. But then there's this aspect of writing checks. I didn't know anybody wrote checks anymore, Herb.
Oh, yeah, a lot of con artists.
Okay. Well, tell us more, because I think in my recollections, you can write a check on almost anything, and a bank will, it depends if it has the right information on it, can pass through your bank, correct?
Well, yeah, they're not writing on anything. These are beautiful-looking counterfeit checks that look exactly like the real thing, and they're using them for a whole variety of scams. And what basically the scam is that they send you a check. There's some reason for sending you a check. You are asked to deposit that check in your checking account. People don't understand that when the money shows up as available, if you check your account and look online, it says available funds, that doesn't mean the check has made it all the way through the check clearing process with the Federal Reserve and that it's valid. And then when the check is found out to be through the banking system to be a counterfeit, that money is then sucked out of your account. Of course, in the meantime, the couple of days lag, the bad guys come up with a reason why you have to wire them the money that you just put in your bank account, and then they get all the money. The bank comes after you and takes your money back. This happens frequently. It's one of the top scams being reported now, the top kind of scams being reported now to the Better Business Bureau. So let me give you an actual scenario. You apply to be a mystery shopper. You see an ad, I want to be a mystery shopper, make a little extra money because my investments that I did with Vestry Investments aren't making me quite as much money as I want right now.
Yep.
So I'm just kidding.
No, that's fine. They are. Darn it, I get it.
So,
go ahead.
You hear from the company, and they say to you, great, we're going to FedEx you a check. Well, that sounds pretty important. The check comes. You get a nice-looking check. What you need to do is put it in your bank account. As soon as it shows up in your account, we want you to go to a local store, Walmart, Target, Kmart, whatever, and buy a $30 item, write out this report, and tell us what it's about. Then take the rest of the money, take $250 for yourself, that's for your services. Take whatever's left, about $200, they send you about a $2,500 check. Take the rest, the $2,000, and wire it to this person. And this person can you do a report on how the service was at the wiring place and then the money transfer place, and the other person is going to report on it, and then we'll have a full report on the company. Well, you do that, and they rush you right away. You put it off. Come on, you got to do it. You got to do it. You wire the $2,000 off. 5 to 10 days later, the bank comes and says, Mr. Weisbaum, that was a bad check you put in the bank. I'm sorry, but we're pulling all the money out of your account. They probably don't even tell you. They just do it. And the money gets sucked back out of your account. You're left holding the bag. There's nothing the bank can do for you. And the bad guys are long since gone, and you can never find them. A lot of scenarios also, people sell things online, like, Craigslist. Oh, I'm buying that chair set you wanted to sell is $1,000. I made the check out for $1,500. I'm so sorry. Let's speed the process up. Just deposit the check, and as soon as it shows up in your checking account, wire me back the $500, and then we'll all be square. Again, there's no reason why anybody should ever write you a check for more than it's worth and have you wiring back the money. It's like giving them cash. You can never stop in most cases the process, and it's a way that they're making tens of millions of dollars.
I mean, these are bigger deals than you read. I mean, because you read about how many people get sucked into this and the Nigerian scheme. I mean, all these things. How big a problem is this?
Oh, we're talking multi-millions of dollars. I mean, it is just an absolute huge problem because in this thing with the check scams, they're using it for all kinds of scams. They're doing it for the buying things online. They're doing it for the mystery shopper scam. They're doing it a whole lot. It's estimated that as many as 500,000 Americans are burned by fake check scams every year, according to a new report from the Better Business Bureau. The average victim losing $1,200. You're the money guy, but that's a whole lot of money.
It is. I mean, and it's shocking that it's of that size because it's something that seems on the face of it, common sense is going to tell you that doesn't, to wire that money back to somebody doesn't make good sense, but people get caught up in it.
Well, the check looks real, and a lot of times they just copy and steal real checks and then just change the routing number on the bottom. So the check looks real. The company appears to check out, and again, you see the money in your account says available. People think that means that's a green light, and nobody understands, and the banks haven't made this clear. They're required by law, by federal law, to make the funds available to you within 2 days unless there's something really hinky going on with that check. They don't realize what that means is it doesn't mean the check is necessarily good, and that's the con artists know all about the federal law. They know what's going on, and that's how they're able to burn people. You got to really stop and think before you wire any unknown party. Actually, don't do it. Wire any unknown party any money. It's just too risky of a thing to do.
Indeed.
And again, there's more about this on
I was just going to say ConsumerMan.com, and people should sign up for your newsletter that is absolutely terrific. I really look forward to reading that and still hear your reports here on Como. And as I mentioned, Herb is kind enough to come and speak at Retire Meet, which again is coming up next February. And thank you for taking a break from your reunion back east where you're with all your pals and agreeing to do this.
Where it was. I'm the campus of Syracuse University right now.
It's a big deal. You're back there.
Overlooking the Carrier Dome where we're playing UConn right at this moment.
All right. Well, you better get back in there. They need your support.
Thanks, Tom. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, as always, Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man. I can't thank him enough for joining us. And if you want to join me to learn about your retirement, a few weeks from now, October 20th, it's a Saturday in Bellevue, and you can register right now at TalkingRealMoney.com. TalkingRealMoney.com. Love to see you out for a class sometime soon. Thanks for joining us today on the program.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Your number one financial goal must be retirement. As we live longer, our need for a substantial retirement nest egg has grown. That's why you must have a plan. And to help you map your route to a brighter future, I created Vestory's Better Retirement Guidebook. And you can get a free PDF copy right now at retirebetterbook.com. It's truly free and there is no obligation. So get your Better Retirement Guidebook now at retirebetterbook.com. retirebetterbook.com.
We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately and consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestory, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and disclosures. Are we done now?